is Jets Final Drive. He is Zack Rosenblatt. I am Connor Hughes. And both of us are super appreciative of wherever you guys are watching us from. If that is SNY.TV, shout you guys out. X, if that is you guys, we absolutely love you. But as we say every single show, the place to be is on YouTube, because not only do you get access to this show, Jets Final Drive, you get Jets Mailbag, you get the Putback with Ian Begley, you get access to Honda Sports Night Clips, Jets pre- and post-game live, absolutely so much. But the best part about it, obviously, is that you can watch this show in real time and interact with us throughout the comment section. And Zach, boy, oh boy, is there a lot to comment on after this game. So if you guys have any questions on the state of anything, drop them in that comment section on the YouTube link. Jeff Goldman, our executive producer, is monitoring this show. He's monitoring that comment section. He's going to let you guys, or let me know what you guys ask so we can answer it throughout this show. Because like I said, Zach, there is a lot to get to. You're new-ish to the Jets beat, if you will. I've been around this team since 2014. There have been bad games, Matt Barkley being signed off the street and lighting up Todd Bowles' defense. Certainly plenty early in the Robert Saleh era, the Adam Gase entire 2-14 season. But this one that we just experienced on Sunday, 42-10 loss to the New England Patriots. I know the Patriots are a lot better than the Jets, but scoring touchdowns on their first 6 possessions, playing with their food, basically being content going in at half up 28 or 35 or whatever, however many points they had at the point in time. Jets calling a timeout and the Patriots essentially laughing in their faces saying, okay, guess what? We're just going to go down the field and score another touchdown. And that is exactly what they did. We are going to break that down, the state of the current team currently, the state of the team in the future, what the heck is going on with Aaron Glenn. But before we get to any of that, we are going to begin this show the way we begin all shows, and that is with a segment presented by Monmouth University, the greatest university in all the land. Welcome to Monmouth U. Zach, I'll let you go first. What did you learn in this debacle that we saw at MetLife Stadium on Sunday?
So for this one, I'm going to share something funny that my brother-in-law's brother came up with, and it's related to sports betting. I knew you would appreciate
it. Your
it.
brother-in-law. In college, we did. One of my best friends, Brendan, and I determined that the terminology for that person is your brother-in-law. So just so you know.
Okay.
And for everybody listening.
Okay. He sent this to my brother-in-law. He said, "Do you know that if you bet $50 week 1 that the QB playing the Jets wouldn't throw an interception, and then reinvested that money every week, you would have made around $4 million by now?" So if you just basically doubled down on the opposing quarterback not throwing a pick every week for the entire season, you'd be a 4-time millionaire right now. Like they're 16 weeks in and they have not picked off a pass. There was a great tweet that like put the stats like would this guy win MVP, and it was all the passing stats against the Jets, and it was like I forget how many touchdowns, 0 picks, like 65% completions. There's a lot of stats you can find. I just found that one pretty funny and fascinating, like the idea of like just banking on the Jets being historically bad defense and how much money you would have made on that.
It's almost unfathomable. I will say that if they're going to get one, assuming the Bills play their starters, I know the Patriots have won the AFC East, so I don't know if there's anything Buffalo's playing for. And the AFC is so tight with all
maybe
the
based
good
on
teams
opponent
at the top there. Yeah, no, the division's won. The Patriots won the division, but I just don't know if like seeding can change. Like
that's what I mean. Yeah, I'm saying like maybe based on who they want to play in the first round. Maybe I
something
guess
like that.
Yeah.
But assuming Josh Allen plays, he is a quarterback that he takes his chances, and there's going to be opportunities there for the Jets to pick him off potentially. But what I learned from this one, Zach, and I want to preface this and make this clear, that I am not saying that the Jets should fire Aaron Glenn. I do not believe that a coach going one and done, barring a complete and total disaster a la Urban Meyer with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't think that does anybody any good. But you can absolutely start questioning whether or not Aaron Glenn is the right man for this job. You can question whether or not Aaron Glenn has the ability to be an above average or good head coach, because I know that the Jets roster is undermanned. I know that you can build the excuses and the excuses and the excuses in terms of they traded away their 2 best defensive players. They don't have their quarterback. They don't have other receivers. But Zach, I challenge you and anybody to tell me what Aaron Glenn has done well as head coach of the Jets to give you confidence that he can do this job successfully, because the plans that he went into this season with at quarterback, at wide receiver 2, at cornerback 2, they've been abject failures. The team is no longer fighting or competing in ways that we expected them to fight and compete, and it just seems to get worse and worse and worse. And week in and week out, I absolutely at no point in time believe that this team is put at a tactical advantage. And that is a major concern for me. It seems to be getting worse. I know they say they have a plan. Well, the plans they've had in place don't work. The players aren't getting better. At least no one that was on this team last year who is now with Aaron Glenn has seen a significant boost in overall play. So it just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. And I for the first time this year, I genuinely do question whether or not Glenn is the right guy for this job, and we're going to get into that in detail in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to step on what we're about to talk about too much, but I think you hit the nail on the head there where you said some of the things that they did that failed miserably. I think he talks a lot about the plan that he has, and, everybody's not seeing it, but we have a plan, and we still believe in that plan. Well, the
plans
two
we've
biggest,
seen stunk.
I'm saying, well, that was about to be my point. So, like, two of the biggest things that were part of that plan were signing Justin Fields and hiring Steve Wilkes as your defensive coordinator, and those failed miserably. Like, I understood both of them at the time; they failed, but so that means parts of your plan did not work. So, like, what parts of your plan have we seen that the fans can look at and be like, okay, like maybe they're not winning, but like they did this, and that like makes a lot of sense. Like, there's not a lot. There's like there's some, but there's very few. And it's concerning. Like I talked a lot earlier in the year about like I wasn't ready to grade him at the midway point because we needed to see how the second half goes. And then they had that 3 out of 5 win stretch where they looked decent in all 5 of those games. And you're like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. And then they've regressed to worse than the beginning of the season. Yeah. So it's a lot to talk about, but it's been alarming for sure the last 4 weeks.
And we are going to talk all about that over the next hour or so. Again, breaking down a little bit of this game against the Patriots, the mind-boggling example of football of what that was, the future of Aaron Glenn, the president of Aaron Glenn, the draft and all that stuff, and also taking your comments again. I keep pushing everybody over to the YouTube channel and to subscribe to SNY's YouTube channel because I think that comment section that you guys can interact with is a really cool feature of this show because it allows you to be a part of it, us to know what's on your mind, and instead of just going through this rundown of what we think you want to talk about, we can talk about what you want to talk about. So MTO2089, I see your question in there. John Gunning, see your question in there as well. We're going to get to them when we get to those specific sections. One of you guys talking about Will Levis, another one, John, talking about defensive coordinator candidates. We have similar sections on that in here, so I'm going to address those questions exactly when we get to it. But if you guys have any other questions, fire them in there. Like I said, Jeff, who's our executive producer, awesome dude, big Penn State guy, huge James Franklin fan. He's monitoring that section, is going to let me know everything that's going on and what you guys are saying. Zach, let's start with this game for a little bit, man. I'll just read off some of what happened, and you can chime in at any point in time if you want. The Jets lose to the Patriots 42-10. It was somehow absolutely worse than that. Mentioned it a little bit ago. The Patriots scored touchdowns on their first 6 possessions of this game. The first 6 possessions of this game, the Patriots scored touchdowns. They could have almost made it 7 because they had a 4th and 1 at like the 30-something yard line, tried to the field goal unit on and missed that field goal. That was after they already pulled Drake May. It was 35-3 at halftime. The Patriots had 344 yards at halftime. The one touchdown drive they had where they went for it on 4th down twice, 4th and 3, and then 4th and goal from the 3. Just no respect whatsoever for the Jets. It was like, yeah, forget it. We'll just try some things and go out there, and we know we're going to get our yards. Like I said, the Jets defense has basically become the embodiment of when teams put like the kids who have beat some major they're like medical marvels who have made some huge recovery, and they send them off to training camp or they send them to a preseason game and they get them in a uniform and let them run behind the offensive line, and the defense splits and lets the kid who's survived the major medical marvel get into the end zone and then celebrate. That's what like the Jets are just on Sundays. Like Taysom Hill doing whatever he wants to do. Drake May throwing 5 touchdowns and leaving in the third quarter. Absolute ridiculousness. The one thing that stood out to me this, though, more than anything else, Zach, and probably what I want to spend a little bit of time talking about here just with the game recap, it's one thing to be a bad football team, which the Jets are. It's one thing to be a team that is at a significant talent disadvantage, which is what the team are. It's another thing to go belly up and quit like the Jets apparently have. But the fact that they are now being made fun of by their opposition in real time is something that if I have trouble stomaching as a guy who is not even a Jets fan, I can only imagine how Woody Johnson feels. And what I'm talking about was, again, end of the first half, Patriots are up 28-3, and they hand the ball off for 3 yards, and they're basically saying, look, we know the game's over, we're going in at half. The Jets call a timeout to get the ball back. I was watching Josh McDaniel, like having his head in his play sheet. He heard the timeout. He lifted his head, and all of a sudden, out came the jumbo, on came the receivers, and I think it was 6 plays later, the Patriots are in the end zone with another touchdown. And then when the Jets get the ball back and Brady Cook gets stopped, Mike Vrabel calls a timeout, and cameras caught him on the sideline walking up and down his bench, looking at the Jets and looking back to his guys and going, F them. Like, it's just... They're being clowned in their own building in games. It's just... I don't know how we've gotten to this point. Again, it's one thing to be bad. It's one thing to be one of the worst teams in franchise history, which they are. Or in the Jets' case, in this December, they are the worst team in NFL history. So I just, it's getting ridiculous, man. It really, really is.
I mean, if the Patriots didn't take out Drake May in the third quarter, they would have scored 70 points on this team. Like they'd stop scoring. They stopped scoring touchdowns once they took Drake May out of the game. Like it. Look, like, I'm sure we were going to get to this, but it's worth addressing. Like, obviously, like, it wasn't the highest talent level on the defense, but that's also not, like, a good enough excuse. Like, they had, at various points, guys named Jordan Clark, Dean Clark, Eric Watts, Jasir Taylor, Peyton Page, Michael Walker, and Brady McGregor got significant steps. But they still had Brandon Stevens out there, Jamie Sherwood, Quincy Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Harrison Phillips, Juwan Briggs, Malachi Moore, like all these guys that are going to either play roles next year or that are starting caliber players, and they did not look like a defense that deserved to even be on the field. So they didn't look prepared. Aaron Glenn kind of backtracked on his statement from Sunday where he said he felt like the effort was poor for the first time this season, which is kind of a funny way to phrase it. And then he comes out today and backtracks, and he did that because I don't think those kind of comments usually go over very well in a locker room. I think back to Gerard Mayo last year did that, and he never recovered from it. So it seemed like a little bit of damage control from Aaron Glenn because, you're at the end of a season where you have literally the worst December a team has ever had in terms of point differential. Like the Jets have been outscored worse than any NFL team in history in December. Like just let that sink in. Like, and that's why all the pushback you get. You and I both had similar takes, and we wrote similar things, and you said similar things on TV about there's no way that you can be okay.
You read me?
No, I mean I saw the headline for both of them. I would say, yeah.
Oh, as we've learned over the last week or so, don't read the headlines. As we've learned recently, don't read the headlines to come off of this show.
But my point being, like, I think people reacted to us saying things like this is not acceptable. As us saying, like, they need to be fired, and we're not considering that they don't have talent on the roster. Like, no, that's all true. Like they're supposed to lose. Like this is not a team that's built to win right this second. But that doesn't mean we can't expect them to not be outscored worse than any NFL team in history. Like that I think that's a pretty low bar to clear. They're not clearing it, and so you can. They fought till the end in a game where you lost by over 30 points. They've lost by over 20 points in 4 straight games. I believe if they lose by 21 or more in the last game, they'd be the first team in NFL history to lose their last 5 games by 21 or more. So, like that, to reach new levels of history, like they're not the first team to be terrible at the end of the season. They're not the first. That winning is not maybe the number one priority at the end of the season, but that like you can't be historically bad and expect everybody to just be like, okay, this coach is going to figure it out. We have seen no evidence that he will.
It's funny, Zach, too, is we were just talking about this a little bit ago because we're starting the process of planning the show for the off season because we're going to keep going on this weekly for the show and topics and stuff like that. And we made a joke about you needing a nap, right? Like because I said, we usually do the show at 2 p.m. because my daughter's napping, so it's like the perfect time where I'm free. You don't have kids yet, you're free. Like it's like a nice little gap here. Last year, Brie and I were talking about this like a week or so ago. She's like, Connor, like. The season ended and you needed like a month to just decompress after that year. She's like, we kind of like, we have another kid on the way. Like we kind of need like some things to like get in order. And she's like, you can't really do that. I was like, hunting this year is so different from last year. Like I know the Giants are toast and I know the Jets are toast and it's been bad, but like the dysfunction from last year, this year has just been like ever since before Halloween, you were like, yeah, they're a terrible football team and they keep losing. Like it's just been in like accepting mode for like 3 months now where I already had that month of like checked outness. It's crazy how bad this has been. So let's move on here, Zach, because I do think that the hot button topic coming off of this game and it bears expanding is Aaron Glenn. And again, stressing, neither of us believe that you should fire a coach after 1 year. But in moments of a season where you are struggling, in moments where you're looking for reasons why this team's going to turn it around, you try to find things that they do well to make you believe that this guy is the right guy. And for Darren Muji, I think the perfect example of what you can point to is like an addition in season like Brownlee. Where I think, his free agent signings you can criticize, his draft picks aren't on the field because they're all hurt, but you can look to a guy like Brownlee, or look to a guy like Briggs, or look to a guy like Phillips as players like in season, he realized these guys had some problems, and he maneuvered and picked and pulled and found little additions to make you seem like, okay, that was positive. That was a good thing that happened. I don't see anything with Aaron Glenn right now. I don't know what you can say, this is what this guy does that makes me confident that he is the right coach for this team. Because, again, he stresses that he has these plans. Well, the plans that he's had before have been complete and total failures, whether it was the Steve Wilks or the quarterback position or personnel decisions. They were complete and total failures. The players that were on this team last year have not improved in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they have regressed to the point where now I think a lot of fans are saying, wait, why didn't we trade Jermaine Johnson at the NFL deadline? Why did we keep Will McDonald? Why were these guys considered untouchables while we left Quinnen and Sauce Gardner go? That's all of a sudden out there. And now when you have him openly questioning the effort, and then when we take those comments and go into the locker room and Jermaine Johnson literally scoffs at what the coach said, that tells me that this locker room is very much close to the point, if they are not already there, to tuning the coach out. And when players stop believing that they are being put in the best position to have success, or players stop believing that they have the people in charge to help them get to go find success, seldom do you come back from that. Seldom do you come back from that. And again, I know what fans are going to say. We don't have the dogs. We don't have the horses. We need the players. What is he supposed to do? You can still have guys that fight. And we have now gotten to the point where the Jets are no longer even fighting. Players who know they're not particularly good, who are fighting for their jobs, who know that the film they're putting on display now is going to help them get employed, if not by the Jets, for another team. Not even they're fighting. Like, that's where it's just, I struggle so mightily seeing that. And I honestly, dude, I don't know where they go. They're not firing him. They're keeping him. We all know that. They are not firing Aaron Glenn. He might change some staff additionally, but they are not firing Aaron Glenn. I just don't know what you see to make you feel like that is the right decision. Like what does he do well? Like I'll ask you that's just, but what does Aaron Glenn do well, Zach?
Yeah, I mean it's a question that doesn't really have an answer right now. Like I don't know. Like I think he is good at standing in front of.
It's week 17. You don't have that answer.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't really have an identity either. So. Yeah, I don't know. It's a big problem. Like to your point, like what can they do? Like what can they do going in the next year to make you feel better about him? Like he's probably going to revamp some of his staff. I can't imagine a lot of these defensive coaches are going to return. I think a lot of their coaching styles and schematics have kind of clashed with what these players like, especially at, I would say, linebacker and defensive line. I wonder what they do at quarterbacks coach. I wonder what they do at defensive coordinator. I wonder what they do at quarterback. I wonder how they completely revamp this defense. Does Aaron Glenn have the ability to bring in a completely new roster, a staff with new faces, and turn it around enough to where Woody Johnson and his fan base looks at this team like, okay, they made progress, so we can feel better going into 2027 when we haven't made the playoffs in 16 years. So, there's a lot of concern, like more than I thought I would have at the end of the season. And so we're going to go into next season. You're going to see a lot of those lists about the first coach getting fired next year. And I would surmise that Aaron Glenn is going to be at the top of them. And I don't see a path to this team being good next year. And we have not seen evidence that Woody is willing to wait more than 2 years for a team to like show real progress. And I'm not saying that I know for sure he's going to fire him during next year or after next year. But Aaron Glenn is putting a lot of pressure on himself because he went into this season with a little bit of edge, a little bit of cockiness with the moves that he made, thinking like, I'm going to be the one to do something that nobody's ever done with Justin Fields. I'm going to unlock him. I'm going to be the one to turn Will McDonald into a good run defender. I'm going to make Arian Smith overcome his drop issues in college. And all these guys are going to work out because I'm Aaron Glenn and I know what I'm doing. But a lot of those things haven't worked out. And so we need to find out if he knows what he's doing or not in terms of coaching and schematics. And he hasn't answered those questions yet.
And look, they're absolutely. I saw this tweet going around because the instant comparison is to the last regime in Robert Saleh, and
Yeah.
and I've compared and said like there has been a legitimate regression from that regime with the same players to this regime with the only difference being quarterback. I mean, we watched Robert Saleh go 2 seasons where he won 7 games with a mishmash of Zach Wilson and Mike White and Joe Flacco and a myriad of other guys, and then last year, things were definitely not good with the 5-win team with Aaron Rodgers, but the Jets still fought. And I think a lot of that had to do with firing Robert Saleh and promoting Jeff Ulbrich, who was just not ready for that job, contributed to that complete and total deterioration. But the first year with Robert Saleh was the record bad. The offense ranked low, the defense ranked low. But when you look at the final month of that season, the December games and the January games, the Jets played the Dolphins close 31-24. The Jets beat the Jaguars 26-21. The Jets lost to the Buccaneers close 28-24 on the quarterback sneak, non-quarterback sneak game against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And then they lost to the Bills 27-10. Again, playing with a rookie, Zach Wilson, who was complete and totally in over his head and a disaster. But you would see things and moments from the defense when they did not have the players where you were like, you know what? There might be something there. You would see things from the offense run by Mike LaFleur. You'd be like, you know what? You think something might be there. You're not seeing anything right now. And it's more than just not having the quarterback. It's more than just not having the pieces. Like it's continually getting worse, which to me signals alarm. That signals red flags. That signals that something is off here. And I don't know how you fix it. And I honestly don't think anything's happening week 18 to make me feel any different going into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, unless they somehow came out and beat a Bills team who might not even play their guys for 4 quarters, like it would be a fake win that the bad teams go into the offseason getting all excited about. But like the reality is, how many coaches survive a losing season where they have to change a lot of their coaching staff? Like how long do they survive historically after that next year? Like not very long. Like Saleh had to do it to a degree when he had to fire LaFleur, he had to settle for Hackett. He made some other changes on the coaching staff. They didn't work. And so it's pretty hard to get out of your first year where you have to make all these sweeping changes, and that coach is able to make it work because then you're changing the scheme again. You're changing if you're trying to fit the scheme to the players, you're changing that again because you're not going to have a quarterback like Justin Fields. So they need to adjust on the fly. Maybe they'll do a little better with more, I think an underrated thing about a new head coach getting fired is they get kind of thrown in there in January, and then the combines in February, and the free agencies in March, and it's all right there.
Yeah.
They don't have that excuse this year. They have the cap space this year. They have the draft capital this year. And they need to hit on most of their moves because their roster is one of the worst in the NFL. So no pressure, Aaron Glenn, but you just need to fix your entire roster scheme and philosophy, and otherwise you're in good shape.
You can make the argument that they need 5 or 6 players on both sides of the ball, including 2 or 3 of those players being legitimate game changers and one of them being a quarterback. Like in one off season.
No pressure.
And I would say, Zach, in that position you need to get those. That's just to be competent. All right, I keep pushing people to the comment section. I might have to stop because we got this one in from Jessica Ender 4106. Zach Rosenblatt, you look so handsome today. That is
that is my sister-in-law.
It is.
They were she was watching with my nephews. And,
okay,
they've been.
That makes more sense. I was going to say
my wife is off from work because of the holiday, and I keep seeing her popping out to take videos of me to show my nephew. So I think they were FaceTiming, watching me live. So we got some fans in Detroit, Michigan, right now.
There you go.
If we saw a spike in Detroit viewership, it just happened.
I always joke that ever since we started this show, we've increased the 21 to 28 female demographic and sorority demographic that are tuning in to watch us. Don't care about the Jets, just coming to watch us. I saw that comment come in. I was like, man, maybe I was onto something here. I didn't realize that there was a family tie. We talked about those.
I see they put the photo of me at my wedding in the bottom left corner there too. So they're really embracing it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, we were just saying that there's probably 5 or 6 positions on each side of the ball that the Jets need to fix. That's if they bring back the guys they're going to bring, or that's at the roster as it's currently constructed, not including holes that could be created by guys who leave in free agency, who the Jets cut, who the Jets don't bring back. So this was one I did want to go over with you here. Real quickly, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names of players and stay or go on each of them. All right? That makes sense for you?
Yeah.
All right. First one, my answer for this one I think he's a long goner. I don't think he wants any part of this team anymore. Linebacker Quincy Williams, what would you do with that?
Yeah, I mean it's a go. Like I mean, everything I've heard is that he's basically been approaching these games as his Jets career is at the end, and I think the only scenario where he'd even consider coming back would be a defensive coordinator that he believes in, and I don't see that necessarily happening. So I'd say he's on his way out. I don't think he's had a good year this year, but his career at the Jets is something like when we look back on, we should celebrate because he had a pretty cool journey being a guy that was waived and claimed off waivers and built up into this all-pro linebacker and became like a really like cool guy to talk to, and he's just like really funny and fun, and I think everybody kind of likes him. So I don't think his career like soured by the end by any means. It definitely was not as good as when he was with Saleh and that group, and I imagine he'll land somewhere with somebody from the previous coaching staff because they just know how to use him the best.
It's with Quincy, you just want him to attack. He's best in a defense that just is go, 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 go. He like go, don't read and react. And the defense the Jets are running right now is a lot of read and reacting. He's a fish out of water. You put him back in that scheme, and you'll see him thrive again because the athleticism is absurd. Tyrod Taylor, I think I'm going to say stay. I like the way things are trending right now with the Jets. Or I don't like the way things are trending with the Jets quarterback position, but the way that it does, it almost makes me feel like they might go with, and you never necessarily want to model anything off of this team at the moment, but the Giants quarterback model from a year ago where they had two veterans plus the rookie quarterback that they ended up drafting. I don't hate the idea of Tyrod Taylor coming back plus another quarterback plus somebody you draft at either number 2 or top 15, something like that, depending on who comes to the draft, who doesn't come to the draft, and where you ultimately end up picking.
I'm going to say go because I can't imagine Tyrod Taylor, who has had opportunities lost because of bad luck, but he was healthy and they decided to play Brady Cook over him. Like, I can't imagine that's something he was particularly thrilled with. And so I can't see him coming back. I think a team would be willing to sign him. So I say go with Tyrod. As much as I like covering him, and I think he'd be perfect in that scenario you laid out, I don't see him coming back.
AVT, I'm going to say stay. I actually love the idea of the Jets signing AVT to a one-year deal, $10 million-ish because of how much cap space they have, and then also drafting a rookie in the second. Well, they don't have a second round pick. No, they do have a second. Forget how it works. They have a second round pick, right? And they get a second round pick. They don't have a third.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. They have a second round pick. They don't have a third. I like the idea of them drafting a guard in the second, drafting a guard in the fourth, and then having AVT on a one-year prove-it deal because he's coming off the injuries. I love that, actually, to go with Myers and Tittman and all that other stuff with the offensive line. So I actually think ultimately AVT coming off the season-ending injury comes back to the Jets next year.
Yeah, I say stay. I've been saying I prefer him over Simpson the whole time. I don't think Simpson's had a great year, even if he's a good locker room guy. The interesting thing with AVT is I do think he's pretty well respected in the league. And he's an interesting one because I think teams will view him as a guy you can kind of get at a discount if you just load up his contract with incentives. And so I think he's going to have more interest than maybe people realize in free agency. But I could see the Jets offering him like a one-year deal worth, I don't know, $10 million, $12 million loaded with incentives. And you bring him back for a year. And as you said, you kind of buttress that with you draft someone and you sign a veteran. The best offensive line the Jets can have next year includes AVT at left guard, I think.
You mentioned John Simpson. We can just be quick on this one. I think John's gone. I think Simpson played with the Ravens, came to the Jets. He's going to be like, I don't want to do that anymore. He's going to be like Morgan Moses and bounce back to a contending team. I think he's absolutely out.
Yeah, I think he'll do pretty well. I believe he's making like $6 million from the Jets. He's a starting caliber guard. I could see him getting anywhere from $7 to $10 million a year. So I think the left guard will be AVT or John Simpson. I just lean towards keeping AVT personally.
With a rookie, I agree. This one real quick, and then we can just expand a little bit on the last one. Michael Clemens. I think he gets so much hate from the fans. I think he's a competent, serviceable, rotational defensive end. He's probably going to get more money on the open market than some people expect. He's probably going to end up with an Aaron White-Cotton or a Jeff Ulbrich or a Robert Saleh again because people do like him and the way that he fights and his effort. He just sometimes finds himself out of position. I just don't think he's going to want to come back to the Jets. I think that the way that the fan base hates him, he's going to want a fresh start with somebody new.
Again, like Robert Saleh loved him. Jeff Ulbrich loved him. Like, if those guys are still the DCs at their spots or if Saleh gets a head coaching job, like I think I would be pretty confident in predicting he lands with one of those guys because I haven't talked to them about Clemens specifically since they left, but I think they would love to have him in their room. I can't remember which one of them it was, maybe it was Salah, I can't remember. Salah or Ulbrich had the quote where they're like, I would let him babysit my kids. Like, that's how much they liked him.
Yeah.
So
That's great. Brees Hall. And this one is so fascinating to me
yeah,
because of the roller coaster that we've been on with Brees Hall. The up and the down and the up and the down and the up and the down and the up and the down.
it's a lot.
They essentially have three options with Brees if they want to bring him back. The franchise tag is going to be about $14.1 million. The transition tag is going to be about $11.4 million, or they can try to re-sign him. Brees has not had nearly the career success that Josh Jacobs did, has not had nearly the success that Kyron Williams had, but I think that Brees is going to be looking for a contract similar to what those two guys had. Josh was 4 for 48, and Kyron was 3 for 33, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is what Kyron Williams signed with the Rams. Again, those players had immense more success than Brees did, so you can make the argument, well, why would we pay you that much? But that's what Brees is going to be looking for. I don't know, man. Like, I just, there's something about Brees, even on the long touchdown that he broke against the Patriots, he doesn't have the separation that he used to. Like, yeah, he scored on that play, but you look at it, it's not the same burst. It's not the same stride. It's not the same speed. He gets the 5 games going into that one against the Patriots. It was something like 77 carries for 200 and something yards and 1 touchdown, averaging 3.0 yards per carry. Credit to Rich Cimini who dug this up because the Jets are like, oh, they're packing the box, they're packing the box, they're packing the box.
Yeah.
No, during that 5-game stretch, they loaded the box 1% more than they had the previous 10 games. So no, that's just not an accurate statement. It's just I don't look at Brees and see him anymore as this irreplaceable player. I think that if the Jets let Brees walk, they're going to need to find another running back, whether that's in the draft, whether that's in free agency. They're going to have to go sign somebody. But I almost feel like going and getting somebody at that $5 or $6 or $7 million range in free agency, or drafting somebody else in the 4th round who has attributes that you really like, and then pairing that player with a Braylon Allen and an Isaiah Davis, I almost feel like maybe that's the way that this should go. And again, maybe this is the roller coaster I'm on, where Brees is down, so I'm down. But I haven't been impressed with him this year in a contract year. And if he's not performing the way you did when he's trying to get paid, how's he going to perform after he gets paid? Also, is he the guy that's going to kick and scream not wanting to be tagged? I don't know. I'm back on I think he's probably going to go.
I disagree with the probably going to go, but what I would say is I don't know that he necessarily wants to come back, but I also, and this is the point I've just been making generally, they have so many other needs that you can afford to just transition tag him or whatever and pay him $11 million, bring him back. You have a running back. You can draft one later in the draft, whatever it is. Or if you feel like you transition tag him and then you like somebody in free agency, you sign that guy and then you can remove the tag. Like, there's a lot of options you can go about it. I mean, he was tweeting during the Bears game last night. One of the tweets I have right here, they out here making offense look overly easy. Like there's no reason to make that comment unless you're taking a shot at your own situation where it never seems like anything's easy. And he's kind of had a habit of doing that, where he had hashtag free 20 and he's DMing with people during the trade deadline. Like, I don't think he's as passionate about being a Jet as he might present it. But like, the Jets have the control ultimately if they want to tag him, because $11 million is pretty reasonable if you want to do the transition. Franchise, I guess I could see he could in theory hold out, but I don't think you're going to really be worried about that necessarily. You can always remove it if you have to, or trade him, and so I still lean towards him staying. Whether I think they should bring him back, I don't know. I go back and forth. I think he's perfectly adequate. I think he's fine. I don't think he's a bad running back. I don't think he's a star. He's somewhere in the middle, and he's a running back I think you can win with the right. He needs a better supporting cast probably than some of these great running backs in the league that can kind of dominate no matter who's around them. So my prediction would be stay still.
Gotcha. Real quick before we move on here, because it kind of goes in conjunction with stay and go. Chris Harris, who took over as the Jets defensive coordinator, I think it's fair to say he will not stay as the Jets defensive coordinator, which means the Jets are going to be looking for a new one, which is what John Gunning asked us in the comment section, which, again, this is the benefit of you guys watching the show on YouTube, is we have that live comment section running throughout the duration of the show. Jeff Goldman, our executive producer, is watching that, letting us know what you guys say. And what John asked us was, who would you hire as the Jets defensive coordinator for next season if the decision was you? I think that we are both in the same ballpark here, Zach, where I like Harris from the Bears, man. I like that idea of Al Harris. I think that's a good one. or anybody tied to Aaron Glenn. I think that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Yeah, so like if this question is like what's the dream person to be the defensive coordinator, I'd say Jim Schwartz. And I'd even have Jonathan Gannon high on my list because I do think as a DC he was really good in Philly. But realistic,
Pew, 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 pew. Explosives.
oh my god,
That was
right,
by the way,
yeah.
that was like the one time where like we talk about the signs that, oh no, what's about to happen. Like we just saw it with Aaron Glenn losing 42-10 in 6 straight possessions. Imagine having that video come up and just as a Cardinal fan being like, oh yeah, we're screwed. Oh yeah, this is like just flush the next 3 years down the drain. Like when I heard the pew pew, I was like, oh dear God, like God.
But yeah, I agree. Al Harris, I'm very intrigued by because that team forces turnovers better than anybody. Former DB, and Jim Leonard is the one who comes up a lot. I would say those would be. I'd say those two are like you said, somebody that Aaron Glenn has coached with would be the most likely contenders, and I think. But those two would be ones you'd be happy with. Will those guys want to take this job? You know, if Aaron Glenn is viewed as a lame duck coach, like it's the same problem that Robert Saleh had when he had to fire Michael Floor. If you remember, like he would tell reporters both. I guess it was more like away from the camera, but he would talk a lot about how he couldn't get anybody to take the job, or like there was guys that weren't even willing to take the interviews, and so you were left with Nathaniel Hackett, who was like, okay, I'll come in, I'll come hang out. Not like I'm doing anything anyway. You guys want any Red Bull? Like, yeah, let's hang out and coach some football. And so Hackett is.
Well, this is why I told Bree I needed a month off after last season. This is why I needed the month off. And I'm good now. I'm totally refreshed for this offseason, ready to tackle life. Last year was, God, what a year.
Yeah, but the point being, like, this is the scenario where you end up with somebody like a Nathaniel Hackett, and that's not a good place to be because if the rest of the league views this as a spot, number one, lame duck coach, number two, who are the game breakers on this defense, they don't really have any. Like, it's not an appealing job. So if Al Harris has multiple offers, I don't think the Jets would be very high on his list.
No, I completely and totally agree with you, which is why I ultimately think that the person who gets this job is going to be someone from that Detroit coaching staff that Aaron Glenn worked with that he can bring over and will end up working with him. And I don't know if it'll work, but you never know when any of these guys will work. Let's talk NFL draft. You down for that? Little drafty draft talk? Is that good for you?
Sure.
All right, so... Sure. I actually said this, I think it was on JFD. I definitely said it on Sports Night during one of my hits for Sports Night. I had to do an IA on Christmas Eve for Gus, and he was like, hey, let's talk some. I was like, all right. I was like, here's something to talk about. I know everyone's talking about the Tank Bowl between the Giants and the Raiders and keeping your eye on that, but Jet fans should have that game circled between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers because I genuinely believed that the Browns had a chance to beat the Steelers. I think the Steelers are funky. I think they're even more funky without DK Metcalf. Then you loop in Myles Garrett trying to get the record. And sure enough, that's actually what happened. Now, I wish I could sit here and tell you that I put my life savings on the Browns money line, but we can't bet the NFL, so I didn't do that. So I hope that somebody else can just let me borrow the Lamborghini for a day or so, just so I can maybe take Bree out for a nice date or something like that. But because the Browns won, the Jets move up in the draft order. The Raiders also lost to the Giants. So the current situation right now, Las Vegas Raiders would select first. They're 2-14. Then the Giants at 3-13. Then your New York Jets at 3-13. Tennessee Titans, Arizona Cardinals, and Cleveland Browns. Titans and Cardinals are 3-13. The Browns now are 4-12. There is a path for the Jets to have the number one overall selection in the NFL draft. It involves the Raiders beating the Chiefs in Week 18. The Jets obviously losing to the Bills. And then they're going to need like 3 or 4 other things to happen throughout their schedule. And the Giants also. The Giants are going to need to beat the Cowboys. So the Raiders need to beat the Chiefs. The Giants need to beat the Cowboys. The Jets need to lose to the Bills. And then 3 or 4 other things within the Jets' schedule need to happen in order to adjust their strength of schedule to be worse than the Raiders. Right now, the Jets' strength of schedule is a 548 and the Raiders is a 544. So that's close enough where it can switch. Zack, the Raiders, we talk about teams that have no interest in winning. What the Raiders are doing right now is like next level with Bowers, who could play on the injured reserve, Crosby, who could play on the injured reserve, Geno Smith tweaked his ankle against the Giants. They might throw their backups out there. I know the Chiefs have also like completely turned away from this season, and all these guys are on the IR and stuff like that. I'm sure Kelsey's going to want to go out high, but I don't think that. I don't think the Raiders are going to beat the. I just don't see it, man. I don't think the Raiders are going to beat the Chiefs. I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, even if the Raiders beat the Chiefs, the Jets still need a lot of things to happen, strength of schedule wise. So
Yeah.
the Jets aren't getting the number one pick. I think Seth Walder had the Jets as a 0.1% chance of getting number one pick, but they're locked into a top 3 pick, so that's good. But this gets into and I'm sure this is something we're going to talk about anyway. But you need Dante Moore in the draft now. I think it's an absolute 100% need. And if
Yes.
he's in there, then there'll be a debate about who's number one pick, honestly, because I don't think it's 100% Mendoza if Moore's in the draft. And then you're not guaranteed to get them at 3, so you might need to consider trading up to 2, and that's a whole nother conversation. But if it's only Mendoza, like where do you go? Like it's a really tough spot to be in. I think that's way too high for Ty Simpson. I do like the idea, and some people have floated this, and I think we even talked about this a little bit. The idea of like drafting Arvell Reese at number 3, just like a real game changer on defense, like real stud linebacker, edge rusher type. And then either trading up or, if Ty Simpson keeps dropping to where you have the Colts pick, you take him there. And if not, if you see him, if you get nervous that you think another team wants him, trade up to number 10 or whatever it is. You have the capital. So you have Ty Simpson, you have Arvell Reese, you still have some other draft picks. You can try to see if Ty Simpson's the guy. And if it doesn't work after 1 year, then you try again next year when you're still probably going to have a high pick. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I'm completely. I mean, it seems like the Raiders are locked in on Mendoza, not more. Now things can change, and if you go with the ghost of Al Davis, he's always been a speed and more excitement than boring. And I think Mendoza, if you're comparing him to Moore, is more boring. Just in terms of higher floor, traditional quarterback, can move a little bit, but not super athletic. When Moore is a different caliber of a player, just in terms of what he can do. Also, there's much more of a bust factor there because he hasn't played a lot of ball in college. He's very, very young, so you don't really know totally what you're going to get. There's some concern there that you just haven't seen enough, and maybe if he plays another year of college ball, he's not. But you're right, Zach. Like the Jets right now, their entire focus doesn't need to be on what happens in the Raiders game. Doesn't need to be what happens with the Giants game. The odds of them getting up to their number 1, while there is a chance, it's very, very, very slim. What they need to have happen is more declare for the draft. They need this to be a 2 quarterback in the top 5 draft in order for them to really have a chance. Because I still think they'll probably have to go from 3 to 2 with the Giants to get that number 2 selection to guarantee them more. That won't cost them nearly what it would to go up to 1. It's almost in that situation, you're just playing draft defense. That's just prevent any opportunity that the Browns try to get cute or the Cardinals try to get cute. Just go up there to number 2, get the selection, draft more, and then figure out the rest. It won't have to cost you nearly as much as anything else to just go up 1 spot. Go back to look at didn't the Bears do something like this, I think, to go up 1 spot and get Trubisky? Obviously it didn't work for them, but something along those lines is what the Jets could potentially do. But they need to have that out, because with the Giants losing, or the Giants beating the Raiders, I do believe that ultimately the hopes of the Jets landing Mendoza, they died. They died in Vegas. One thing that is clear is that in addition to the rookie that the Jets ultimately end up drafting, and I do think, Zach, your thought process is right, that if Moore doesn't declare, I like the idea of Simpson trading up from 18, which is where that Colts selection right now is, because the Colts are eliminated from the playoffs, so it's not going to be any worse than 18. Going up to, say, 15, 12, something along those lines, just trading a little bit to go back up, an extra 3rd-round pick, something along those lines, to move up, get Simpson, and then sit him behind a veteran. And the veteran market is becoming more interesting by the day. I think we all saw Malik Willis have quite an impressive game on, I think it was Saturday Night Football, if I'm not mistaken, because now we're at the point where NFL games are played every single day of the week, which I love, by the way. But I don't know. It was a night game. Yeah, it was a night game. I like him. Burrow. Lamar could be out there. I don't think Burrow is happening anymore, but Lamar Jackson certainly is an intriguing option that is starting to flirt a little bit. Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett, Mac Jones, Jared Goff, Phillip Rivers might find himself in the mix. We got this question in the fan spot. Let me just scroll up again to get the name right. It's from MTO 2089. Again, we appreciate you guys watching on YouTube, because we can take questions like this. It fits directly into our quarterback discussion, because look, Sam, Brian, Jeff, you, me, all of us who put this rundown together, we didn't even put his name out there. It's an intriguing option. What about Will Levis? Because aside from the turnovers, the guy can throw the ball. Big, physical, athletic guy. I go towards the don't do that, And the reason I say the don't is because that's another project player. What I think the Jets are going to be looking for is for Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji to draft their guy, their rookie that they scout and they identify and they say, this is a franchise quarterback, draft him and then pair him with a veteran, which is why I think the idea of Malik Willis is ruled out. I think the idea of Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow probably ruled out. You're looking for that veteran with the rookie to go into next season. If the rookie's ready, you don't do what the Giants did and force Russell Wilson. You start the rookie if he's ready, but if he's not and he needs some time, that's when you can go with the veteran for 3, 4, 5 games until eventually you put the rookie out there.
I mean, Will Levis was pretty he had some of the worst turnovers I've seen a quarterback have, like including against the Jets in Week 3 last year. He's athletic. He is coming off an injury. Like Will Levis, I would consider if you're trading a late round pick, and he's one of 3 quarterbacks you're bringing in the camp. And so, let's say you go into next season with Ty Simpson, Marcus Mariota, and Will Levis. I mean, not the most exciting quarterback room, but I think that's like the only scenario. And then you just let them, all 3 of those guys, battle it out for the starting job. Like that's the only time I bring in Will Levis. Out of that group, like in terms of veterans passing it over to like a rookie, if that's what they wind up doing, I think Brissett's maybe the most intriguing to me. I don't know what the Cardinals would want for him in a trade, but he's just like time and time again. Like he bounces around. He's just a solid quarterback. He's really produced in Arizona. He gets the job done. I don't think he's going to win any games for you, but he's maybe not going to lose them. And so like he'd be perfect for me as like a bridge. Mariota I do like in that scenario too, but I think Brissett is like, if we're saying they're for sure getting Ty Simpson or Dante Moore or even a Mendoza, like Brissett is really, really intriguing to me. But also if you're getting those guys, I don't know if you want to trade a bunch of draft picks to get a backup quarterback either. So it's an interesting spot to be in. Malik Willis does really intrigue me. He's probably more, to your point, like he's probably more intriguing if you're not getting the guy in the draft this year. So you're getting him, seeing if he can be a guy, and you're also drafting someone later, and you're like just having a competition. And if Willis doesn't work, then you have another option to throw in there, and then you go into the year after that. But I don't know if this staff can wait until 2027 is what it feels like right now. So we're going to be having a lot of these conversations. I'm sure we're going to be doing like full-on quarterback episodes, which I'm looking forward to. But it's hard to get a good read on what's going to happen until we know exactly where the Jets are in the draft order, and if we know exactly that Dante Moore is leaving. Until we know those things, it's like really hard to project this stuff.
It's so funny, like the more discussion even that we can have right now, because if this was 3, 4, 5 years ago, he's obviously coming out. He's going to be a top 5 pick, but now Oregon can give him $10 million next year to come back. Like you'll have some booster like give that insane money, like what Jeff does for Penn State to try to get them quarterbacks. It's like it's crazy, like what it's wild to me. But I think that the thing that makes me nervous about Malik Willis is, and this is any quarterback, honestly, like, and it kind of goes with the Mac Jones example as well, is they're going to these systems that are so, it's cliche, but quarterback factory. Like Matt LaFleur is a damn good quarterback coach. Kyle Shanahan is a damn good quarterback coach. Sean McVay, a damn good quarterback coach. Kevin O'Connell, like all these guys are elite level quarterback coaches that, yes, they're having success with these guys. Tanner Engstrand isn't Sean McVay. Tanner Engstrand isn't Kevin O'Connell or any of these guys. So I think the only reason I kind of like Mac Jones is I view him very similar to a Jared Goff type quarterback. And I think Goff had his success in this Detroit Lions offense that Ben Johnson runs, that now Tanner Engstrand's trying to run. And I think that could theoretically work if you want to trade a mid-round pick to go get Mac Jones because he's under contract for the 49ers next year and have him and the rookie. I don't know if Mac Jones wants to be anybody's bridge for a quarterback drafted in the first round, but he would be somebody that interests me. And then the big one that you had said, obviously, is that everyone's going to talk about is Marcus Mariota. Yeah. I do want to pose a hypothetical to you because the Ravens seem like they are completely and totally deteriorating. If they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers and are eliminated from the playoffs, there's a real chance that Harbaugh ends up getting fired. You now have, and unfortunately I don't remember his name, but a longtime columnist for the Baltimore Ravens kind of ripping off the blankets on everything that's been going on with Lamar Jackson. And this usually happens when you have a player that's late to meetings and all that stuff. Perfect example is Malik Nabers and Abdul Carter. Malik Nabers basically was accused of everything that Abdul Carter has done, whether it was late to meetings, skipping meetings, all this fun stuff is what Malik Nabers did. Malik Neighbors balled out on the field, so nobody cared that he was late to meetings. Abdul Carter didn't have a sack for 13 weeks, so everyone was like, hey, this guy's late. Like, it's the two different ends of the spectrum. If you perform, no one cares. If you don't, everyone uses it as a reason why you're not performing. Suddenly, Lamar Jackson isn't performing, and now you're finding out that he's sleeping in meetings, that he shows up for one day in minicamp and then zones off, that he doesn't take his body seriously, that he's up too late playing video games, which, look, I'm up till 2 a.m. playing video games as well and still get up and raise my kids, so I wouldn't use that as an excuse for anything. If you could get Lamar Jackson for, let's say, 2 first-round picks, and we'll go 1 this year, 1 next year, or both first-round picks this year, would you as the Jets do that? And I have an answer with this. We have not talked about this at all. We've never posed this situation to us at all. I have an answer to this that I think might surprise people. Would you do that? Would you trade 2 first-round picks, be it 2 this year or 1 this year, 1 next? And if it's a different answer, let me know. Would you do that trade for Lamar Jackson?
I would. Yeah, I would trade for him, but I go back to this, and I think it's something Jets fans sometimes don't factor in, is a quarterback at that level, at that salary, has to also want to go to the organization that he's getting traded to. Like, you're not going to trade a guy to a place he doesn't want to go to, and he's going to cause a ruckus. Like, Lamar's going to dictate where he wants to go if he's getting traded, I would guess. This
is in a world where Lamar would come here. This is where Lamar comes here. Yes.
So I always try to caveat with that because I think that gets left out. It's like, oh yeah, they can go get Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow doesn't want to come to the Jets. So, But yeah, so so laying it out, he wants to come here. Yeah, I would trade 2 first-round picks. I would say 1 this year, 1 next year, and bring Lamar in. He's the most talented quarterback you've had. In theory, I don't know. I mean, you could say Aaron Rodgers, I guess, but in a long time because you don't have. And he's the mobile quarterback, which Aaron Glenn wants. He'll sell tickets, which Woody wants. And the question is just physically, what is his deal? Because we don't know how bad that hamstring is because he does not look like himself right now, and that's the risk you take.
Yeah, because that's the thing now is the back.
Those are the risks, and he's not a huge quarterback, and so the history of mobile quarterbacks who aren't huge, like they sometimes tail off. But I still believe in his talent, and I think they have enough capital that it's worth whatever risk comes with it, and maybe one of those picks has some contingencies on it where you even add more if he stays healthy for X amount of games or he produces X amount of stats. Like, I think he's somebody that would have more interest than maybe people who have soured on him would believe. But if I'm predicting anything, I think if he gets traded, he just feels like a Miami Dolphin to me personally. Like, that just feels like where he ends up.
This could be something like where he gets traded to the Dolphins and becomes like a 3-time MVP again, and then I'm just look like an idiot. I don't think I do it. I don't think I do. And the reason I say I don't trade for Lamar Jackson is almost the same reasoning why I said the Jets shouldn't trade for Deshaun Watson before all of the stuff that happened off the field. So remove the off the field stuff, because when the Jets were discussing with Deshaun, it was not when all of that stuff came out and suddenly it was like, oh my God, what's going on here? So like a clean Deshaun Watson versus a clean legally Lamar Jackson. Like I don't think I'd do it, and the reasons are the same. Is that the Jets with Lamar Jackson are probably a 5-win football team this year. I mean, the Jets need so much that they are not a year away from contention. I don't think they're 2 years away from contention. I think this team, with or without the quarterback, is still looking at 3 years of drafts, 3 years of free agent signings before they can legitimately consider themselves contenders. We talked about it before, man. I think they need 5 or 6 positions at least on each side of the ball. And of those 5 or 6 positions, several of them need to be legitimate game-changing players. And I don't see that happening. So it's almost like you trade the 2 first-round picks and get Lamar Jackson. You now have to wait 3 years for you to be a contender. And at that point, Lamar is 31, 32, and he's already a player with back issues. He's already a player with hamstring. Now it's like, is he even going to be the player you traded for? Like, Lamar needs to go to a team that's ready to win now. That's not the Jets. And I'll be honest, I know he's Lamar. I know he's the MVP. I don't do it, man. I would not trade for Lamar Jackson, even if it's just 2 first-round picks. 1 and a 3, yeah, I'd do that. 2 firsts, I'm not doing that at all. Let's move on. to the last segment of the show. It is a little preview here as the Jets are getting ready to take on the Buffalo Bills. Jets are 9.5-point underdogs. So I think looking at that line early here in the week on Monday, I would assume that most people are assuming that the Bills are going to be resting some of their starters, because if the Bills were not resting some of their starters, this line might be something like 17, 18, 19 points.
Yeah.
I don't think the Jets cover. I think the Jets lose. I think the Bills, with or without their starters, still beat this team by 14 or so points. I don't know if they get to 21 to break the record, but I think that this is going to be a big butt kicking by the Bills. Also, the last game for the Bills in their stadium, because they lost the division, so there will be no more games in Buffalo before the new stadium is introduced, which I am excited to go to next year. Like, I am excited to go to that stadium.
You know what I'm excited to go to is Bar Bill, and you will not be there to join me, so I'll be at Bar Bill alone.
Oh, this weekend. I was thinking, why wouldn't I be there next year? Yeah. Oh, you're going alone? Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Antoine,
Well, the other Jets beat writers might be there, but Bar Bill is just. I actually look forward to the Buffalo trip to go to Bar Bill. It's the best wings in Buffalo.
And White Russians, which is what Buffalo is also known for, is White Russians. That's it. We should explain the inside joke. I don't know how it happened. I don't even consume White Russians that often. But like one year we're in Buffalo, every single year we go to Buffalo, obviously. And you, me, and Andy Vasquez are sitting at a bar, and for some reason I ordered a White Russian. At Duff's, yeah, at Duff's, I ordered a White Russian, and one of you guys, it might have been you, or clearly it was you or Andy, looked at me and goes like, "Why the hell did you order that?" And I was like, "Dude, Buffalo's known for their White Russians." And it's just been like this inside joke where now every time we go to Buffalo, I get a White Russian. In fact, I went there with the Giants for Jackson Dart's preseason opener. And I was with like not Antoine. I was with Art Stapleton and Evan Barnes and all those guys, the Giants dudes. And I ordered a White Russian. They gave me the same look, and I was like, "Boys, Buffalo's known for their White Russians." But real quick before moving on here, Zach, there have been some crazy. We were talking about this pre-show. There have been some crazy battles between the Jets and the Bills. Do you have a favorite memory from a Jets game in that stadium? I mean, mine's not a favorite memory, but it'll be the one that stands out to me forever. And it was the Week 17 win-and-in game. Jets versus Bills, Todd Bowles' first year, the red-hot Jets that I will go down in the boat, to steal another saying from that team with Brandon Marshall the next year about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I will go down in the boat believing that if the Jets had gotten into the playoffs, they would be playing in the AFC Championship game in 2015, because they were playing a team in the Cincinnati Bengals that was going to be without Andy Dalton, or a team in the Pittsburgh Steelers that was going to be without Ben Roethlisberger. Then the next round, they were going to play the one-seeded New England Patriots, whom the Jets had already beaten once and played really close the week before. I think they win both of those games and go to the AFC Championship, and then you never know. And instead, it was a colossal disaster. Darrelle Revis admitted after the game a couple years later that they went into the game thinking they had already won it. It was just... Fitz played terrible. The drop by Kenbrell Tompkins, Darrelle Revis undressed by Sammy Watkins. I mean, just a disaster of a game, and one that I'll always remember about that stadium in Buffalo. And again, I was writing for Jets Insider with Chris Nimbley at the time, so there was no expense report. So I remember like driving my car with Nimbley up and staying in Buffalo and waking up early and going to the game. We were supposed to spend the night to like then go home the next day, and looking at Nimbley and being like, "Dude, they're gonna lose this game. We got to get back for Baggy Day." And like driving through a blizzard on the way home to get home, just a disaster of a game that will always stand out as the one in that stadium for me.
Well, so I don't have like a specific game because I don't know if they've won in Buffalo since I started covering the team. But one of my funny memories is like the way the locker room setup is in Buffalo is where their lockers are right next to each other, and it's like the tunnel, so they all have to go through the tunnel together, both teams. And so Michael Clemens and Deion Dawkins are like going at it. And the media, we're all there trying to record it with our phones, and there's some young like security guard trying to, be a tough guy, and he's standing in front of us, and we're all getting angry, but Rich Cimini was like ready to throw it out. I think like he was like, I've never seen Rich as fired up. He was rallying us too. We were all like ready to like get behind him and go to war with the security guy.
Oh yeah.
And eventually he just like stopped being so annoying. He's literally putting his hand up, blocking the camera.
Yes,
and
that's
there's nothing
right.
to make
up.
media more.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing to make media angrier than doing stupid stuff like that. So that's one of my memories. Is always going to be that terrible setup right there with the lockers. And it's just like built to have these two teams fighting each other. Like I saw a video.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Walk in the same tunnel.
I saw a video yesterday of Nick Sirianni like talking crap to like the Bills on his way in, like because that's what he does. But like it's just like so funny. Like it's just the worst setup, but. I've covered a lot of games at that stadium as of you, so it's gonna be interesting seeing the new stadium and what that's like, and it's always fun going to new stadiums because I've I think I'm down to 4 stadiums I haven't been to, and then I'll obviously go to that one next year. So it's not like I'll have to miss out on it. So there you go.
Yeah. Seattle and LA are the two I haven't been to. I completely forgot about
those.
that. And all the fans that give Rich crap, literally, you had Rich Cimini ready to throw down with a security guard in order to get your Jets content. That's how much Rich cares about his job, even in his old age. That guy is the dean of the beat, a living, walking legend amongst our field, and Jet fans should be appreciative of him. I know he's snarky, but imagine covering this team for your livelihood since 1992. I think he told me it was when he got his first beat job. So it's literally 33 years, as long as I've been alive, is been since Rich has been covering this team. So cut him a little slack. He's the man. That's going to do it for this episode, Zach. I appreciate you joining me. I think we're coming to you guys, we just decided, on Wednesday of next week. So the Jets play the Bills on Sunday. We then got Baggy Day on Monday. So we're going to be coming to your guys, just kind of recapping the entire season, either Tuesday or Wednesday at 2 p.m. once Zach wakes up from his nap. Is when we are going to be going through with that. If you do want more Jets content, though, from this season, we do have more coming, and it's going to be on Jets Mailbag. We have another episode coming this week with Janae Coakley and myself, so make sure you guys stay tuned to that. That is found on SNY.TV and SNY's YouTube channel. We always push you guys to YouTube because aside from this show and Jets Mailbag, you'll also get the Putback with Ian Begley, where you have your Knicks and Nets talk. You get clips from On the Sportsnet. You get clips from Jets pre- and post-game live. The Mets are in the offseason, but it's the winter meetings or winter meetings past. You guys can tell how much baseball I know. Free agent signings, trades, all that stuff that's going on with the Mets and Cohen and the Yankees and all that fun stuff. We will have that completely and totally covered, so you guys can keep locked in to that. I lied. We don't have a mailbag this week. I lied. Jeff just popped into my ear to let me know that we do not have a mailbag, and also he does not like James Franklin. So I thought he was his best man at his wedding, or I think he named his kids Jamie F. Apparently I was wrong on all that stuff. He doesn't like James Franklin. So no mailbag this week, but we will have other Jets content for you on SNY's YouTube channel. Big shout out to our production team, Brian Pincus, Sam Candle, Corey Palmer, and executive producer Jeff Goldman, who was producing this show, sending me your guys' questions. We will see you guys next week when we wrap up this Jets season. Will they beat the Bills? Probably not. We'll talk about it next Wednesday.